we must neither be ashamed of poverty, nor can we afford to be always disappointed at being poor, helpless, failing, miserable, anyways, because these are all the fundamental imperatives and unavoidable necessities, not only behind all the humility, compassion, kindness, understanding, authenticity, clarity that we are able to eventually actualize and apply in our actions, behaviors, habits, but also they lead to the accomplishment of absolute and unconditional greatness, invincibility, distinction, truthfulness, authenticity, and untouchability in our lives. If we can obviously not only practice poverty, but if we can learn from it to minimize our needs, to master our desires, to develop self knowledge, self respect, self sufficiency, it all happens because of sometimes being poor, because of some people's poverty. They become great, they become honorable, respected by the others later on because of their humility, because of their groundedness, because of their ability to hold on to themselves, even in the midst of the most challenging, opposing, contradictory, painful kind of circumstances, situations, conditions they are encountered with or they find themselves in one way or another. So we must not be afraid of poverty. We must not be ashamed of ourselves for being poor, because having been poor is no shame, but being ashamed of it is. When we become ashamed of ourselves for poverty as well as for being poor, then we really fall into poverty. Then we really become poor because of our shame over ourselves as well as over the others. So anyone can be poor psychologically, mentally. Poverty does not always have to do with financial condition, economical conditions. Poverty is not always about actuality, practicality. Obviously, it is, but mindset is everything. Mindset, attitude, perception are more than partially responsible for the achievement of success, the actualization of ambitions, the accomplishment of greatness, distinction. In all of it, there is the mindset, there is attitude, perception, which is equally great, just, fair, authentic, truthful at every step of the way, that eventually culminates in greatness, prosperity, ambition, anyways, in one or another. So obviously, we must not be afraid of poverty or of being poor. We must not be ashamed of ourselves for being poor. But obviously, if we are ashamed of ourselves for poverty, for having been poor, then we really are poor. Then we really are in poverty. That when we are ashamed of ourselves, when we are disgusted at our conditions, when we become ashamed of ourselves for poverty, when we constantly taunt ourselves or the others for being poor, then we really are poor mentally. But if there is no shame in us, if we are